Hello and welcome back. In this section, we're going to show you how to cut out curly hair. Now, we have another added bonus here. This hair is on a relatively complicated background, and it's kind of the same color as the hair. So we're going to be using a kind of a compositing technique to cut the curly hair out. We're actually going to be sampling and using selections from another image and then putting this over top of this image. It's a really great technique, especially if you have like a tricky area with hair. All you have to do is find a similar image with a similar hairstyle, and you can use this technique to cut out that hair. Here in Photoshop, let's go ahead and open up. We're in Chapter 3, Section 2, Cut Out Curly Hair. Let's open up both of our JPEGs. So let's go ahead and click Open. So the image on the left is the image we're going to be cutting our subject out, and the image on our right is our reference image. So let's go ahead. I'm going to use my Move tool, there we are, to click and drag from one image to another. And let's go ahead and close down this image. So basically you can see I've searched online for a relatively similar hair texture, and we're going to be using that to cut out our subject's hair. Okay, well, let's go ahead and make this invisible. Now, to start with, I'm going to go ahead and cut my subject out with the pen tool minus the hair. We've done this before. We're going to speed it up so it doesn't take too long, but you'll get to see the process. And there we go. I use the pen tool to trace around the majority of my subject, kind of leaving the hair alone. Now that I have my pen path around my subject, we're going to right-click in the pen path. We're going to go to Make Selection, feather that by 1 pixel, just make the edge a little bit soft. Hit OK, and let's go ahead and click on our layer mask. There we are. Now I can grab my solid color fill layer. Let's just go all the way to white and put that underneath our subject. So you can see she's cut out for the majority of our subject pretty well. Now there are a couple areas that we're going to focus on, of course mainly the hair. So let's go ahead and hold Shift and click on our layer mask and take a look at this image. This is going to be pretty tough to get an accurate selection of our subject's hair. We have quite a bit of hair here, there's a lot of detail, and it's on a background that's pretty similar in light levels to the hair itself. So making a selection is going to be pretty tough. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this hair to make a selection. All right, let's go ahead and show you how it's done. So the first thing I want to do is move our subject. There we go. Let's lower the opacity a little bit. We want to move our subject to about where the other subject is going to be. Now in this case, we have a couple of things to keep in mind. This hair is a little bit more, the shape of it is a little bit smoother than this hair. So to start off, let's just use the liquefy tool on this hair. So back on this layer, I'm going to use M for my marquee tool. We'll just make a selection around the hair. We're going to go to filter. We're going to go to liquefy. Now here in our liquefy filter, we're going to use the forward warp tool. It's just this top tool on the left. There we go. And we're just going to start pushing these around. Now it's like way too strong right now. So let's go ahead and bring our pressure down and our density down as well. There we go. And what I'm going to do is try to basically like even this out a little bit. Again, this hair is really just going to be used for selection purposes. So all I'm trying to do, let's bring our pressure down and our density down a little bit more. Bring our size up. What I'm trying to do is basically like even out there we go. The hair line just a little bit. Like here it kind of comes in and goes back out. We're just going to kind of pop that back out and then push this back in. Just kind of even this out a little bit. And I'm doing this just to match kind of the outline of the other image. We're just going to use this for selection purposes. All right, let's hit OK there. We can see there's the before and the after. Let's lower the opacity, and we'll kind of move this into place. So let's go ahead and move this right about here. There we go, and see if we can use this for the back part of our subject's head. So bringing this back up in opacity now, I want to make an accurate selection. So we're going to use channels to do that. Let's go to our channels, Now, red, green, and blue, because this is a black and white image, they're all going to look the same. Let's duplicate one of the channels and hit Control or Command L for our levels. Now I'm going to bring my white levels up. There we go. Just making my background a little bit brighter. And let's make our darks a little bit darker. This is going to help with our selection process. So now we have a nice contrast between light and dark, and we're going to use this contrast to make a selection. So what's nice is this image is pretty much, there we go, it's about in the right place for the back of this other subject's head. We lower the opacity to kind of like get it in about the right place. There we are. So what we're going to do is, let's go back to this channels, back to our blue copy, hold Control or Command and click on our blue copy. Keep in mind this selects the light areas, and we want to select the darks, so we're going to go to Select, and then we're going to go to Inverse. So now it selects the darks or our subject's head. So this is a really cool technique because we're using this subject, nothing of this subject is going to remain, we're only making a selection of the subject because it's easy to make a selection here because dark hair on a light background. I'm going to hit Control or Command H to hide the selection, and now we're going to use our brush tool to paint white on our layer mask. And as I do, there we are, you're going to see I'm able to paint back our layer mask back visible. Now the cool thing here is this is not the hair from this subject, it's actually the hair from this subject. It's just the mask that we used from this other subject. There we go, and that's looking pretty good. So let's get it right to about there. I think that looks pretty good. And now we're just going to move this subject around a little bit. So let's lower the opacity a little bit and use our Move tool to kind of see what we're doing. Let's shift click on this layer mask. Just makes that layer mask back visible again. There we are. And this time, I'm going to use this for like right over here. So let's go back to our channels. I'll hit Control or Command and click on this channel. I don't want to have to create a new channel every time. That sounds like too much work. Just not necessary. So let's go ahead and click on this channel. Go back to my layers. We don't even need that layer. You can actually just move a selection. So if you hit M, there we go. You can just move your selection just by clicking on it. So now I can just bring that selection right, for instance, to about there. Let's hold Shift and click on our layer mask, and then I'm going to hit Control or Command H to hide that. We need to inverse our selection. So Shift Command I or Select and down to Inverse. There we are. We'll bring that right back there. Now let's hit Control or Command H again. I'm going to hit M for my marquee tool and click on my selection, and we'll just move this around a little bit. Oh, it kind of went up there. No big deal. We'll just select it again. So Control or Command, click on this layer. We'll go back to our layers, Shift Command I to invert it, and let's go ahead and paint this white right to about there. Now we need to finish up this part of the selection. So what we're going to do this time is we will wind up having to make another channel, but it's not a big deal. So let's hit Control or Command T. We're just going to make this a little smaller. There we are. And we're going to stretch it around a little bit. I just need it to basically fit into the rest of the hair. Alright, so let's go ahead and hit that checkbox up there. Now we'll bring our opacity back up to 100. We just need to do a new channels selection on this. So let's go back to our channel. Okay, because you can see our blue copies. This is the older one we made. So now let's go ahead and duplicate a current channel. Duplicate the blue. Control or Command L will just make our lights even lighter. Same like we did before. We'll make our darks just a little bit darker. There we are. And now we'll turn this into a selection. So Control or Command, turn it into a selection. Remember that selects the lights, so you always want to go to Select and Inverse to select the darks. Back here, we'll make that layer invisible. We still have our selection active, so we're going to now paint white on our layer mask, just right over here. Alright, and it looks like I've just gone a little too high. So that's not a big deal. I just hit Controller Command H again. We just bring our move tool back over here. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to invert my selection and paint black on the layer mask. There we are. Let's hit Controller Command H again. Yep, I'm going to just paint black on the layer mask over here too. So I'm basically using, there we go, that looks pretty good. I'm basically using this other selection to totally fill in this area of the hair. Let's go ahead and just see, kind of comes up and around there. Let's see if we can get this. You can most definitely use this technique with straight hair, with really any type of hair. There we go. A big part of the reason I'm doing this is because we have a pretty complicated background. Let's bring the opacity back up on that. Duplicate our blue channel. Use our levels adjustment. I'm going to click my white point and just click right there. Make our darks a little darker. Select this, which selects out the lights. Okay, and then we're just going to paint black on the layer mask here. There we go. Let's invert our layer mask and then paint white. Alright, really I just wanted some of this detail. There we are. And let's hold Alt or Option and click on our layer mask. Because some of the areas like here, I just need to be a little bit more visible. So let's hold Alt or Option there. And we're going to use our brush tool now. Let's just use a soft edge brush. We're going to change our layer blend mode from normal to overlay. Sorry, our brush blend mode. And I'm going to paint it white here. And what this is doing is just making this lighter. The reason is because you can see it's kind of semi-transparent here. Doesn't look real. So let's go ahead and just paint it visible on our layer mask. There we go. And there we go. Looks a lot more real. So we're looking really good. Now it's not obviously 100% perfect, and we can go in here and kind of make any adjustments we need. This area looks like it needs to be adjusted a little bit. So let's go ahead and figure out about where we want, what we want that hair to look like. So again, we can just kind of, use this other layer. There we go. That looks good there. So we'll bring our opacity back up. Same thing we've done before. Duplicate our channels. Controller Command L. Grab our white point. Select that channel. Make that invisible. And then we'll inverse our selection. And I'm going to paint white on our layer mask. So that looks great for the outline of the hair. Now, we did include some of the background in a couple of these areas, but that's not a big deal. We'll just create a new layer and clip that to our subject, and then we can use our clone stamp tool to just make sure that we have really nice hair detail. There we go, all the way to the edge. This is such a cool technique. This will work on straight hair, curly hair, you name it. This is just a really good example here. So basically, anytime you simply don't have enough information to get the job done with your original photo, all you have to do is bring in another photo and you're good to go. That looks fantastic. I am super, super happy with that. Now, let's click on our layer mask. Look at that. Beautiful and very difficult to do from this original image. Super, super difficult. So we'll go ahead and bring that back. Now on our layer mask, I'm going to use my blur tool. Just blur a little bit more of our edges. Some of these areas are a little bit like out of focus, like the jacket. There we go. Just a little bit of cleanup. and we'll click right back on there. And that looks so good. Let's just go ahead and zoom in because I think I painted over top of the eye. There we go. Just paint black on our layer mask just right here where there's a little bit of artifacts and things like that. And there we go. And then we'll go in here and paint white. Just get some of these eyelashes back. Just using a small brush tool here. All right, looking great. And let's just go ahead, little areas like this. All right, where we can see a little bit of the background. Kind of the best way to do this is just with the clone stamp tool. So we'll just clone stamp from the inside out. All right, that takes care of any type of fringing that we may have. All right, and we'll just paint a little bit visible for the eyebrow too. A little bit of cleanup right over here. All right, and it looks like this needs a blur as well. So we'll just go to our layer mask, grab our blur tool, and this is only going to blur our layer mask, and just blur that a little bit. Check that out. See, it just like blends in. All this could actually get a little bit of a blur. Just kind of fit with the rest of the image. And that looks fantastic. Wonderful. This is a perfect cutout. We could put this on any background and it would totally hold up. And while we're at it, you know what we can do? If we didn't get the shape of her hair originally perfect, you can hold Control or Command. I'm going to make sure we clicked on both of these layers. We're going to convert this into a smart object. Okay, so now it's just all in one. And then you can go to Filter and down to Liquify, and you could shape the hair a little bit if you wanted to. So for instance, this area, I could just kind of push that down. There we go. Because we got the outline of the hair, it's really well cut out. Now I could just shape it a little bit. Just kind of bring down the, kind of went to a little bit of a point there. There we go. Let's hit OK. And there we go. Perfectly cut out from our background. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that section. I had a ton of fun making it. Now, if you haven't already done so, please leave a review of this tutorial on Phlearn.com. It helps us out a ton, and it helps everyone else know what you thought of this tutorial. Now, in our next section, we're going to show you how to cut out hair from a simple background. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next one.